out on track, so too now Schalke. A minute 55 left on the clock. Cinders found half a tenth of a second through the first sector, now down through turn 4. Cinders currently 1.2 seconds off safety, so he needs to find a lot of time in the last couple of sectors. Cinders though losing time in the middle sector. I wonder whether a little bit of traffic hold up there as Litz over the line on a 104 flat goes to P3. I don't know whether I missed that one a little bit ago, as Edveer a 105.451 provisional best in P13 finds half a tenth of a second through the first sector. 1 minute 10 left on the clock. If you're in the pit lane now, your qualifying session is done. NMX James is in the pit lane with Damir on a hot lap. This could be a risky strategy from the McLaren. Needs no one behind to improve. Beaton retires from the session in P7. That might not be safe depending on how much the track rub is in. Edveer around the final couple of corners to make sure there's two Red Bulls in the final part of qualifying. Edveer over the line, 104.928. That knocks NMX James out. Who else is on a hot lap? Damir's found 1,000th of a second through the middle sector. Schalke's on a hot lap but lost time through the first sector. Tasmania and Cinders are both on hot laps as well. As Damir back to the pits. Damir's out of qualifying then, so we've lost two. We've lost James and Damir. Schalke's still on a hot lap. Tasmania's going slowly in the middle sector. He's out. Cinders is on a slow lap as well, so it's only Schalke now that could knock Edveer out in the final part of qualifying. Needs to find 4/10 of a second or so, and his up time is up a tenth and a half through the first two sectors. Disaster then for Mercedes. Are we going to see both Red Bulls in the final part of qualifying as the checkered flag now falls? Schalke through the final couple of corners. Needs a worldie of a final sector in the Mercedes. Schalke to the line. Finds time, but not enough time. Remains P13, a 105.337. The best the Mercedes could do. So the 5 we lose at the second part of qualifying are James, Damir, Schalke, Tasmania and Cinders, just as the rain begins to fall here at the Red Bull Ring. As that brings an end to the second part of qualifying. Here are the final standings of that session, and only 1.1 seconds separated Regent down to Edveer. This could be a very exciting qualifying 3 to come. And it wasn't much of a gap. It was just a tenth of a second between James and Edveer over the line. That Red Bull sneaking through and James not being able to pull that final lap together. Damir P12 also bailed on a lap, and Schalke couldn't quite improve. Tasmania and Cinders though, P14, P15, did well to make it through from quali 1. As once more the clocks will get reset for the final time. Regent on a 103.777, 2.5 tenths clear at the end of quali 2, but with the rain starting to fall again, Litz has been looking fast in the wet. What can we expect to see as the rain continues to fall here at the Red Bull Ring as we head toward qualifying 3 now? As the green light shows down at the end of the pit lane, in the first car moving down onto the track there, it's one of the Williams cars. Williams, in fact, of Formula Smokesy. The question will be, is there time enough to go for a set of slicks? No, everyone then picking a set of the Greenwald intermediate tyres. Are they going to fuel long and fuel far into the session, give themselves as many laps as possible? It's the intermediate tyre designed well enough to go through much of the race distance on its own. 36 lap race distance that it will be come the end of this session. There's also out on track early come Regent and Hasbraz also coming out onto the track then. The one remaining McLaren of Moomin Rider and the Red Bull of Yanaudi. So 5 cars then, half the cars out on track as I say that, and Adams joins us out on track. So 6 cars out on track with Litz rolling down pit lane as well. A good number of cars going for early run while the track is still reasonably dry. As Formula Smokesy up the hill in toward turn 1. No DRS anymore, of course, in the wet conditions, so it's all about the other types of grip, the pure engine power that you can get out of your car, your aerodynamic grip. As Formula Smokesy now through turn 3. A little bit twitchy, trying to get that power down. You can see the Williams just stepping out of shape a little bit over the crest of the hill and now down toward turn 4. And again, the back end of that Williams not sticking at all. Those rear intermediate tyres do not want to provide any traction to the Williams. And now down through turns 6 and 7. Looking slightly more well behaved, but slightly less of a traction zone to get through on those corners compared to turns 3 and 4. Now down toward 9 and 10. It's going to see how badly the back end of that Williams is misbehaving. It keeps itself reasonably in line and Smokesy over the line, a 1:11.6, but we know that's a slightly scruffy lap from the Williams car. Regent over the line on an invalidated lap was a 1:12.3 as Litz starts a flying lap now. Hasbraz on the run to the line, also on an invalidated lap then. So Formula Smokesy, just by keeping all 4 wheels inside the white line, taking an early high ground here, is Beaton and Edveer now the only 2 cars still in the garage. Everyone else on track, everyone but Cam McKenzie on track is on a hot lap. Moomin Rider on the run into the final couple of corners in the McLaren. Moomin Rider, who's been showing pace today. Moomin Rider over the line, a 1:13.8, 2.2 seconds off Smokesy. Yanaudi, a 1:12.7, only good enough for P2. Cam McKenzie over the line starts a flying lap now. Adams on the run to the line in the Alpine. Yellow flag, sector 1, that's for a slow moving Moomin Rider. Adams on the run to the line, keeps it inbound, 1:13.4, just faster than Moomin Rider for P3 for Adams at the moment. Litz in the Kick Sauber, who I said earlier has been showing pace in the wet today, looking to continue bucking that trend. And Litz on the run to the line, 1:12.6, a full second off the back of Formula Smokesy, who's starting a new flying lap now. Regent's gone back to the pits. Hasbraz on the run to the line, this time he's kept it all in bounds. Hasbraz a 1:12.992, good enough for P4 so far. Cam McKenzie also out there on a hot lap. Edveer's out there on an out lap. Regent and Beaton are the 2 in the box at the moment. It's Cam McKenzie winding his way through the middle sector. At the end of the middle sector, start of the final sector now, down toward turn 9 and 10. Cam McKenzie on the run to the line. Really do need a good weekend here. 1:13.690, good enough for P6. Beaten out here now on an out lap. Edveer starting a flying lap, who's on a push lap. Formula Smokesy hasn't found time through the first couple of sectors. No one else on an immediate hot lap. I say that, and Cam McKenzie's going bang bang. Found 2/10 through the first sector. Moomin Rider's starting a new hot lap now. Beaton's, as I say, on an out lap. Edveer's on a hot lap too. Smokesy and Litz back to the pit lane. Yanaudi's found 0.5 of a second through the first sector. Cam Mackenzie has backed out of that lap that we saw him on. Regent's now out there on track on an out lap as Smokesy, Litz, Hasbraz and Adams all head back to the pit lane. As Edfair over the line, a 1:13.829, slowest yet of anyone so far in the Red Bull. It's also up to the line, beaten to start a flying lap. Next car over the line is Yanaudi, who's on another hot lap. Yanaudi over the line doesn't find any time. Cam Mackenzie on the run to the line to start a new flying lap. Moomin Riders found nearly 0.3 of a second through the first couple of sectors. And Moomin Rider now on the run to the line. 1:13.667, up one spot to P6 I should say, for the McLaren car. Next car over the line is Regent, who is still yet to set a lap time here in Quali 3. As who is out there on track on a hot lap, coming to the end of said hot lap. Edfair is on the way back to the pits in the Red Bull. The Williams are beaten though, is on a hot lap, getting into the final couple of corners. Teammate currently lies P1 on a 1:11.6, beaten over the line, a 13.7, good enough for P8 only. I wonder whether Smokesy has had the best of the conditions here today, as Yanaudi goes for another hot lap. Moomin Riders on the way back to the pits, so too is Cam Mackenzie. Regent coming to the end of a flying lap as former Smokesy gets out of the way. Regent round the final corner now in the Ferrari, the last car to set a flying lap time. It's going to be a 1:12.8, good enough for P4, first car into the 1:12s we've seen in a while, but still no one inside the second of formless Smokesy, as Hasbraz and Adams are start flying laps, both of them. Beaton's on a new is on a slow lap at the moment, to go again in a little bit. 3.5 minutes left on the clock. We have 4 cars in the pit lane. They are Edfair, Cam Mackenzie, Moomin Rider and Letts. Everyone else out on track. Beaton's dialing up to go again in the Williams. Adams fractionally slower on this lap compared to his last. Hasbraz, the car up the road from Adams, trying to improve on a 1:12.992 that finds himself in P5. As the Red Bull of Yanaudi around the final corner. Yanaudi still yet to string another clean lap together as he goes again for one more flying lap. 3 minutes now left on the clock, so he'll have time for this one, a slow lap, and potentially one more flying lap if he gets through the slow lap reasonably quickly. Jabber now down toward turn 9 and 10. Back end of that Haas trying to step away. Corner entry just about keeps it all pointing in the right direction. Again sliding out of turn 10. Jabber on the run to the line. This won't be a time improvement as Regent lines up to go again. So too in the background there's Formula Smokesy, who is going round one more time. Formula Smokesy on provisional pole by a second. Litz has joined us out on track on an outlap. 2 minutes 20 to go. Only one car in the pit lane, and that is Edfair. Everyone else is on track on an outlap at the very least. So a yellow flag up at turn 3 for Litz, who has dropped it by the looks of it. Meanwhile, we follow Beaton around the final corner, and again, lap time not coming to the drivers here. Next car around the final corner as Edfair starts rolling. 1:45 left on the clock. Yanaudi around the final corner. Next car around the final corner is Moomin Rider to start a flying lap. Then it will be Regent, who is on a hot lap, I believe, coming through turn 8 down toward turn 9 and 10 over the crest of the hill. Flick it in and make sure the car sticks on the apex. Out of the final corner then for Regent, on the run to the line. Currently lies P4, 1:12.8, up to P2 on a 1:12.585, finds a couple of tenths of a second. Minute 13 left on the clock. As Hasbraz starts a flying lap, so too does Cam Mackenzie. Adams starting a flying lap as well, so too is Formula Smokesy and Litz. A minute now, just under a minute left on the clock. Next car to the line will be Beaton in the Williams. Then it'll be the two Red Bulls, Yanaudi leading Edveer around. Yanaudi still not on a hot final lap here, so we'll have one more attempt at a final flying lap. Edveer lining up to improve on a provisional P10. Moomin Ryder going slowly, looking like McLaren going back to the pits, and the McLaren stay is done at best of a 13.667 as the Red Bulls start flying lap. Then come Cam Mackenzie. Cam Mackenzie's up by a second through the middle sector. Hasbraz hasn't found any time. Adams didn't get a readout for, so who's on a hot lap then to the line? Cam Mackenzie isn't going to improve, neither is Hasbraz. Adams also on the way back to the pits. Regent going back to the pits. Formula Smokesy also on the way back to the pits. Is anyone going to finish a final flying lap here? Litz has invalidated this lap, so it won't matter what he does. Yanaldi's found a little bit of time through the first sector. Beaton's matching himself through the first sector, is up by 5 seconds in the middle sector. I think Formula Smokesy, the first car out on track. Edveer finding time a little bit through the middle sector, but not enough to write home about. I think by Formula Smokesy being the first car out on track at the start of qualifying 3, has backed himself a pole position by being the first car in the driest conditions. Yanaudi over the line, finds 5 thousandths of a second at the end, but remains P4. Edveer jumps to P7 on a 13.5. Beaton then will line up from P10 behind Cam Mackenzie. Moomin Ryder will follow Edveer. Adams behind Hasbraz. Yanaudi behind Litz. Regent behind Formula Smokesy, who will start from pole on a 1 minute 11.655. As there are the final classifications. So to remind you then of the starting grid, it will be Smokesy lining up on pole from Regent. P3 will find Litz going in front of Yanaudi. P5 then is Hasbraz in front of Adams in P6. Edveer in P7. From Moomin Ryder P8, Cam Mackenzie P9, Beaton in P10, P11 goes NMX James. From Damir, Schulk in P13, Tasmanja P14 in front of Cinders in 15th. Alea in the Aston Martin will go from P16 in front of QB for Mercedes in 17th. Carlos Sainz, the 1V carb here today, will go from P18. And Iceman, who did not set a lap time in qualifying, will go from P19 in the second Alpine. And this now starts the 5 minute wait before the race time. And as you can see, it is torrential rain up here in the Styrian Mountains. Well, welcome back to the stream here, ready for MSC F1 Season 7 Round 5 at the Austrian Grand Prix. Forgive me for just going quiet there, just needed to relieve myself and grab a quick drink. And it is not my usual cup of tea today, as unfortunately I ran out of tea bags just after the shops closed. So instead I've just got a glass of squash with me today. For those of you long-time members or of MSC F1 or long-time listener of me commentating, you know how often I have a cup of tea sitting next to me while I do the commentary. Mostly because it gives me an excuse to talk about Nigel Mansell, who I believe quite famously had his race drink, instead of being water or the isotonic mix that they have nowadays, was just a cold cup of tea that the V12 of the Williams or Ferrari or McLaren or whatever that it was that he was driving, Lotus as well, the other one that he drove quite famously, the V12 or the turbo engine in that car would heat that cup of tea up to perfection. Of course, Nigel Mansell, one of the more extravagant and exuberant figures of F1, 20 or 30 years, 30 to 35 years ago. As just to give you a quick timing, we have just 1 minute until, in fact, the 60-second board has just gone out. From the race control gantry, so we should be getting ready to go racing in just a little bit. And hello once more to anyone watching the Twitch stream or the YouTube stream. It is always nice to say hello and see some familiar faces, so please do say hello in the Twitch chat if you have a moment. And I am aware, of course, that a lot of the drivers listen to or have the stream playing as well next to them while they race, so I wish anyone and everyone watching good luck. QB in the chat saying great comms, so thank you, QB. It's always nice to hear that my work is appreciated and I don't just speak out into the internet as a whole. As we wait for the last couple of moments for the race to start, and that it is absolutely tipping down here at the Red Bull Ring. Martin Brundle, if he were out there doing a grid walk today, would be getting, well, soaking, I believe the correct adjective would be. Just due to the torrential conditions that we have. This reminds me a little bit of the 2020 Styrian Grand Prix, the second round of the 2020 championship, the F170 championship, and well, it was Lewis Hamilton that ran away with it on that day. As here we go now for the formation lap. Let's have a look and see what tyres everyone's on. Surely it's going to be the blue-walled wet compound tyres. No, it is a mix. We've got from the back of the field. We will have a look at it. So on row 10 on the back there is Iceman on a set of the green-walled intermediates. On row 9, QB in front of Carlos Sainz, both going for a set of the full wet. On row 8, Cinders leads off Ale, and it is split strategy with the Ferrari driver of Cinders on a set of wets, and Ale in the Aston Martin going for the green-walled intermediate tyres. On row 7, it's another split strategy. Schulk lines up in front of Taz Manager, and it's Schulk on the inters and Taz Manager on the full wet. Row 6, we find NMX James and Damir, another split row of strategy with James on the full wets and Damir on a set of the inters. Row 5, Cam McKenzie lines up in front of Beaton, both going on a set of the full wets. Row 4, it's the same story. Edvir from Moomin Rider, both going for a set of the full wet tyres there. On row 3, Hasbraz in the Haas lines up in front of Adams in the Alpine, and it's a split strategy. Hasbraz on the wets. Adams on the inters. Same story again on row 3. Litz on the wet, Yanaudi on the inters, and on the front row of the grid, Formula Smokesy in the blue Williams has gone for the blue walled full wet compound tyres, and Regent in the red Ferrari, scarlet red Ferrari, has gone for the green walled intermediate tyres. So there is everyone's starting strategies. Watch out for the intermediate drivers in the early start points of the race, and to see whether they lose traction or grip through the traction zones or through turns 5, 6, 7, 8 in that tighter and twistier infield section. Jabber gets disqualified, so too does Damir for some questionable parking. As we wait and for the all-important lights from the gantry. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and we are racing in Austria, and it's a better start for Smokesy and Litz on those full wets compared to Regent, but Regent comes across nicely and covers off the kick Sauber, but Smokesy leading away from Regent through turn 1. Litz then just about holding off from Yanaudi, who's tapped and gone round to the inside at the first corner, so Hasbro's up to P4 from Moomin Rider, Edveer, Beaton and NMX James going wheel to wheel as James tries to go up the inside of Beaton up toward turn number 3. In the background, Cam McKenzie versus Adams, Schultz up to 11th from Damir, Carlos Sainz, Alei, Cinders, Iceman, Yanaudi, Tasmanja and QB, the running order through turn 3. NMX James getting in front of Edveer on the run down now toward turn 4 we go, and it's Formula Smokesy leading the way in the Williams from Regent in the Ferrari. Let's then P3 from Hasbro's Moomin Rider as NMX James leads off Edveer and Beaton, who are very wheel to wheel, and Edveer with the elbows out in that Red Bull, making sure he holds on to P7 in front of Beaton. Cam McKenzie then holding on to P9. Adams gone backwards off the start down to 10th. Schultz up a couple of spots to 11th. Alei from 16th is now up to 12th. Carlos Sainz 13th. Iceman's already up to P14. Yanaudi, Damir, Tasmanja, QB and Cinders the back of the pack as they make their way through now toward the final couple of corners. Alei having an issue at turn 9, losing a couple of spots at the end of lap 1, and the full wet gave the advantage there to Formula Smokesy off the start. More tyre clearing, more water clearing, slightly better grip gave him the early advantage, but now Regent switching from the outside to the inside at turn 3. There's wheel banging galore as Smokesy tries to get to the apex. Regent was already there though, and now out of turn 3 it's a straight drag race down toward turn 4. Williams versus Ferrari. They're still banging wheels by the time they get down there. Regent on the inside this time gets in front and gets himself up into the lead of the race. It's out of turn 5 and 6 we go now. Regent versus Formula Smokesy. I wonder whether the Inters are going to start firing up a little bit nicer now as we go through the midfield. The infield part of the track. Beaton's tucked up behind Edveer for P7. Iceman now already up to P12, in behind Schulk, waiting for a move on for P11. Yanaudi up behind Carlos Sainz as well for P14. Fastest lap of the race goes to Regent, unsurprisingly, on a 1:18.9. And running out wide there at turn 1 goes Formula Smokesy. That may allow Litz a run here out of turn 1 up toward turns 2 and 3. Litz going to have to take the outside line by the time they hit the brakes. That's going to allow Smokesy to go later on the brakes. Can Litz go for the up and under? No, Smokesy's driven that very well indeed, holding the inside line until the apex, not allowing Litz room to go back up and under. Formula Smokesy holds on then to P2 for the time being. Hasbro sticking with the leading group as well, but that Has just drifting a little bit on the entry into turn 4 there, not keeping it, maybe just beginning the Has kicking its tail out a little bit there. I'd be surprised if he was tyre wear this early in the race. As Alei tucked up behind Shulkin. Oh, there is Alei getting a bit loose out of turn 5. Iceman's got in front of Schulk now and is already reining in Adams at a fast rate of knots. You can see a slightly drier line there which mixed with the spray from the helicopter viewpoint. So we'll look back to the end. Region a 1:17.9. Just a reminder, crossover time in qualifying was a 1 minute 11 flat. If it keeps going like this, of course the rain still absolutely tipping it down, but I wonder whether we are going to see a wet to dry race coming in a little bit. No overtakes amongst the front runners going in toward turn 3 for the time being, although Beaton trying to hold on off of Cam Mackenzie there, who was the fastest at turn 3, arriving at turn 3 at a fast rate of knots. As Beaton now actually trying to get a better exit than Edveer out of turn 3, down the hill toward turn 4. The Williams at this point beginning to come into its own a little bit, as Adams has Iceman, the two Alpines, just on the fringes of the points. Sticking with the battle for P7 very nicely. I wonder how hard Adams will make the overtake for Iceman, considering how quickly Iceman has got through the early the field so far. Alele tucked up behind Carlos Sainz going into turn 6. Alele's got in front of Yanaudi then from a little bit ago, as there you see Beaton and Edveer wheel to wheel down toward turn 9 and 10. Great to see two cars going wheel to wheel through here, and they stay line astern, but Edveer still not quite using the pace that Beaton would want him to. His Formula Smokesy goes purple and gets back inside the 1 second window of Regent. Of course, no DRS given these conditions, and Cam Mackenzie, it's his turn to put a little bit of pressure on Beaton. How quickly the hunter can become the hunted, and Cam Mackenzie there getting a swapper on out of the first corner. Here comes Iceman versus on Adams up toward turn 3. The two Alpines side by side, wheel to wheel. Iceman up the inside on the set of the intermediates. They're both on inters, and Iceman better on the traction and up into the points paying positions very early on in this Grand Prix. Smokesy still sticking with Regent so far. Those full wets hanging on nicely for the Williams driver. I say that, and a bit of a tank slapper there through turn 6. Hasbraz definitely falling away off the leading 3 somewhat. Moomin Rider just 1.1 seconds now off P4, with NMX James holding a steady 1.8 behind Moomin Rider, but 1.8 in front of Edveer. The car behind us, here comes Iceman up the inside at turn 9 on Cam Mackenzie. Regent a 1:16.8. Now, and is it me, or does the rain seem to have lessened a little bit? Is Moomin Rider into the pits for McLaren, off a full set of wets onto a set of the intermediates, it looks like. And so the first stop then, I wondered how much longer it was going to be before we saw those on the full wets head to the inters. Reminder of those then that will have to make the pit stop, and they are Smokesy, Litz, Hasbraz, James, Edveer, Beaton, Cam Mackenzie, Carlos Sainz, Tasmanager, QB and Cinders. Everyone else on a set of the intermediates, and right now Beaton having to go defensive from Iceman, but also trying to be aggressive and have a run on Edveer, but Iceman having absolutely none of it, going clean around the outside at turn 4. They're still wheel to wheel by the time they get to turn 5. Iceman picking up a little bit of a slipstream from Edveer by the time they get to the inside at turn 6. And Beaton trying to go up and under on Iceman at turn 6. Now he's got the inside at turn 7. Some brilliant racing here between the Williams and the Alpine. Alele getting in front of Yanaudi. They're still wheel to wheel by the time they get to turn 8. Iceman and Beaton, but finally Iceman wins out. Regent a 1:16.1 goes purple yet again. Adams has got in front of Cam Mackenzie now as Cam heads to the pit lane in the Haas. Alele in front of Carlos Sainz. Sainz, who is also, well, heading into the pit lane but running a bit wide. The exit at turn 9. Oh, and crossing it up, Carlos Sainz onto the grass. Somehow got it slowed down. Takes out the speed limiter marker, but just about got it slowed down without picking up a speeding in the pit lane penalty. Cam Mackenzie back up to racing speed now on a set of the intermediates, so too for Carlos Sainz. And those on intermediates now definitely on the better tyres. Already Iceman up to P6, having dispatched Edveer. Iceman now just 2.2 off the back of NMX James, but he knows that 4 cars in front of him all are on a set of the full wet tyres, and will need to box shortly to get off those. So how far then is Iceman off the back of Regent, who is the next intermediate runner, as who will dive into the pits. It's former Smokesy carries on for another lap. Litz too, not wanting to go to the box, but Hasbraz as well, all carrying on. Regent at 1:15.6, the purple lap. NMX James in the McLaren dives to the purple lap. Are those on the full wets? Do they reckon it's going to stop raining in time for them to go straight onto the slicks? As Iceman at 15.5, purple yet if anyone so far. Reminder, the crossover time in qualifying was a 1:11 flat. As also into the box on this lap come Taz Manager and Cinders. Adams has just got in front of Beaton up at turn 3. And the fact they're still wheel to wheel down the hill toward turn 4. Alpine versus Williams. Adams on the inside. Beaton going clean around the outside. The full wet tyres not quite dead yet on that Williams. There's a little bit of wheel banging on the exit 4 through 5. And Adams now, who in the Alpine on the Inters is probably on the superior tyre, gets it done by the time they get in toward turn 6. Jabba, Hasbraz, I should say, with a 3-second time penalty. The first car with a 3-second time penalty of the race so far. Iceman just 1.6 seconds now off the Haas, who has dived into the pits finally. So Hasbraz into the box to get off the set, the full wets. Iceman a 1:14.5, another purple lap, taking a full second off his previous personal best time. Adams now trying to line up a move on Edvir. Also joining this party are Shulk and Alay, and Yanaudi's not far back as well. As Shulk and Alay wheel to wheel, and they're going either side of Beaton on the full wets. Those full wets have definitely gone off the cliff somewhat, as Carlos Sainz is the second car to get a 3-second time penalty. And Adams now with the traction on Edvir at a turn 3, trying to shape up a move going down towards turn 4. Switches to the inside line. Later on the brakes up the inside. That's what the correct tyres can do for you on a trying track. And Adams up then into P5. Iceman just 2.7 off the back of Litz now. For Smokesy, full 10 seconds off the back of Regent. And Litz are only a second off the back of Smokesy. Those full wet tyres have burnt out. Regent goes purple at 13.5 now. Still the rain gets less and less, it has to be said. Litz now into the box. Daymir 3-second time penalty for track extending. Edvir as well shaping potentially into the box. No, not quite on this occasion. It was just Shulk getting through to add insult to injury. Alay now out of the final corner, already pulling alongside the Red Bull. But not quite with the straight line speed to have a go up the inside at turn 1. Litz on pit exit. Through goes Movement Rider. Movement Rider, who was the first car into the box to get off the full wets, has gained a little bit of time then on Litz, and Hasbraz as well has gained time going for the undercut. Yanaudi's got in front of Edvir. Edvir down to P8 now, still yet to pit off the full wet tyres. Iceman, well, here we go, riding on board with Iceman up the inside at turn 6 on Formula Smokesy. Inters versus full wets. Iceman 13.8 seconds now off the lead of the race. Cam McKenzie picking up a 3-second time penalty for track extending. Those who started on the intermediate tyres had a little bit of pain through the first few laps, but it was definitely worth it considering where they are now. 13.2 for Regent, another purple lap. Carlos Sainz gets in front of QB. That's for P16 up at turn 4. As Daymir loses a position to Moomin Rider. And now here comes Litz in the Kick Sauber car as well. Up the hill toward turn 1. The rain holding steady at the moment. It's still falling a little bit, but it is still just the start of a dry line here or there. And now here we go. Litz up the inside at turn 3 on Daymir. Gets the move done nice and cleanly, and Litz now free to chase back after Movement Rider, who's tucked up behind Beaton. who is still yet to make a pit stop. Neither Williams has made a stop yet. As Iceman now 13.4 off the lead, has gained about half a second or so across the last lap. Moomin Rider in front of Beaton now, up to P9. He's trying to go around the outside. Beaton having none of it. Back up the inside at turn 6, has the inside at turn 7. Forces the McLaren out wide for 8. But here comes Litz trying to dance back around the outside, getting loose. And that's going to invite Damir to have a go back up the inside toward turn 9 and 10. Damir thinks better of it and tucks back in. Downhill toward turn 10. Damir, 3-second time penalty for track extending. And here comes Hasbraz down the main straightaway. Alele's got in front of Schulk. Hasbraz has got in front of Damir down the front straight, as Litz gets in front of Beaton at turn 1 for good measure as well. Litz following Moomin Rider through. Moomin Rider now tucked up the back of Edvir. Hasbraz going for 2 moves and 2 straights here as he gets past Beaton as well. Moomin Rider unable to make a move on Edvir. Schulk and Yanaudi swapping positions. Yanaudi's one out on that one this time round, up to P6 he goes. Formula Smokesy already 8 seconds off the back of Iceman. Damon's got in front of Beaton. Litz is going wheel to wheel with Moomin Rider. 13 flat from Region up at the front of the field. Here comes Hasbraz now as well in the Haas, going around the outside of the McLaren down toward turn 6 and 7. And indeed, Hasbraz gained the position up then to P10. Carlos Sainz, 3-second time penalty for track extending. Yanaudi tucked up behind Ale now. The gap up in the lead, still holding steady at 13.5 seconds. Adams 3.5 seconds off the back of Formula Smokesy and catching quite quickly. Inters versus full wets. Litz versus Edvir on the run up toward turn 1. Litz has got up there into P8 now, and here comes Hasbraz and Moomin Rider. And this is just going to feel like a mugging for Edvir. Still on those full wet tyres. Haas to the outside, McLaren to the inside. Edvir stuck in the middle there. They're 3 wide going through turn 3. Moomin Riders might just get the position, and there's contact there. Moomin Rider and Edvir off into the wall on the exit of turn 3. Front wing damage to Edvir. And Moomin Rider, I believe, also with front wing damage as well. Not a puncture though, it would seem. And he can carry on. Iceman, a 3-second time penalty for track extending. I don't know what the stewards are going to want to make a look at that one. As NMX James tucked up behind Cam Mackenzie. This for currently P10 and 11. Cam Mackenzie just off the back of Hasbraz, who was very lucky to escape there. Not getting caught up in Moomin Rider and Edvir's accident. I wonder whether that will force now Edvir to come into the box. Adams 1.3 off the back of Formula Smokesy at the moment. Yanaudi just half a second behind Ale. Edvir into the box for Red Bull. Only Formula Smokesy in the top 12 is on the full wet tyres. Beaton P13 is also on the full wet tyres, but 3.5 seconds clear of Moomin Rider at the moment, who had that crash a full lap ago now. So Ale isn't actually too far behind Adams, just the gap at 1.5 seconds. Ale off Adams at the moment, and you get the sense that Adams will dispatch Formula Smokesy in the very near future. As Edvir and QB both in the pit lane, Cinders in the box as well. I wonder what tyres they're going on to actually. That's not a set of slicks on QB, is it? It is a set of slicks. It's a set of medium tyres on QB. Inters on Edvir. So here we go. QB on a set of the dry compound tyres. Smokesy into the box now as well for Williams. This could be interesting. Are we going to see our first front runner going straight to the slicks as through go the train? As Moomin Rider gets in front of Beaton going back to the box. Formula Smokesy, it is a set of the slicks, it's a set of hard compound tyres. Beaton's gone straight on at turn 9 with a puncture as he's trying to make his way back to the pits. So Smokesy on a set of the hard compound tyres. This will be interesting to watch. Can he get them up to temperature quickly? Can he get them into the racing window quickly enough to make back some of the time that he lost. Beaten, 10-second penalty, speeding in the lane on the slicks, but no, Regent into the box nice and early as well. Also into the box come Moomin Rider, Beaten, Cinders and Edveer. Iceman into the box as well. Everyone's coming in for slicks. It's a set of hards for Regent, and I imagine it'll be a set of hards as well for Iceman. The hards should more than comfortably get you to the end of the race from here. Just 21 laps to go. Hasbraz, another 3-second time penalty for track extending. Alei into the box. Yanaudi goes around for another lap. Also into the box comes Litz and Hasbraz. Cam McKenzie has to go around again. He was tucked up behind his teammate as he picks up another 3-second time penalty. Iceman has gained about 5 seconds on Regent there through at first. Has gained a second, sorry, not 5 seconds, just a second on Regent there through the pit stop window. Yanaudi on the set of inters so far, gaining a little bit of time on Iceman as he tries to get those hards up to racing temperature. NMX James, Damir, Carlos Sainz, Taz Manager all making pit stops as well. Oh, and a spin there. That's Cinders out of turn 4. It was a Ferrari. I thought for half a second it could have been Regent, but no, Regent's still going down toward turn 9 and 10 at this point in time. So those on a set of intermediate tyres. Yanaudi, Schulk, Cam McKenzie. Everyone else is on hards or mediums. QB, Edveer, Alei all on mediums. Everyone else is on a set of hards. As there is DRS enabled now. Yanaudi and Schulk heading to pit lane. I'm imagining that Cam McKenzie on the way into the box as well. Indeed he is. So everyone then onto a set of slick compound tyres. This through goes Formula Smokesy. Up to P3. 28 seconds off the lead. That's how much time he's lost by starting on those full wet compound tyres. Iceman, this has all worked perfectly for him. 11 seconds off the lead now. But with Regent about to catch up to a load of lapped cars. 3 DRS zones on this track, remember. If you catch them at the right time in this half of the lap, you can make back a lot of time. As Carlos Sainz has crashed out of the Grand Prix. Well, there you see it. Front right tyre off at the end of lap 17. Regent 109.6 goes to the purple lap, and now he's sitting in the DRS of Taz Manager out of turn 1. As Regent there making his way through the lap traffic of Taz Manager and Moomin Rider. Formula Smokesy or 108.8 goes purple. Litz now picks up a 3-second time penalty. Now we saw Litz was very quick in the wet conditions, but slightly slower in the dry compound, in the dry running during qualifying. So this will be interesting to see how well the Kick Sauber can do now for the second half of this race. Cam McKenzie tucked up behind. There you see it just at the top of the screen. Cam McKenzie tucked up behind NMX James for P10, and with the help of DRS makes that overtake look very easy indeed. Adams tucked up behind Alei. Yanaudi too. Beaten goes purple, excuse me, on a 108.2 as Moomin Rider heads back to the pits. Iceman 10.8 off the lead. Alei, 3-second time penalty. Moomin Rider, this next car to DNF. So in the space of 2 laps, we're down 2 cars as we are at half race distance. Litz now goes purple on a 108 flat in the Kick Sauber car. Litz 2.7 off the back of Yanaudi in P6, who was 1.5 off Adams, who's still tucked up behind Alei going up the hill toward turn 3. Alei then just 2 seconds off a podium paying position of Formula Smokesy. Iceman leading the way in P2, 11 seconds off Regent, who has led the way from lap 2 pretty much at turn 4, starting on the intermediate tyres. Definitely seems like the right decision. Looking back, 1:07.1 purple time from Regent, beaten 3-second time penalty. Lots of penalties coming out now, thick and fast. Cam Mackenzie inside DRS range, not quite inside DRS range, yes indeed, of his teammate Hasbraz. This is going to help him defend from NMX James. I said earlier that the Haas cars needed quite a good haul of points this weekend. They're line P10 in the constructors, 39 points off Aston Martin in P9. They need to buck the trend of the bad weekends, as who was that went purple? I believe it was Damir went purple just a moment ago, and a 1:07 I believe, as Adams now really close. In fact, there you go, Adams going up the inside of Alea up toward turn 3, double front lockup. That's going to allow Alea a chance to go around the outside, but runs out wide, and that allows Yanaudi through. And now can Yanaudi go bang bang here and try and pick off Adams on the run down toward turn 4? Drag reduction system wide open on the Red Bull. Oh, and a lock up there from Adams, and a little bit of contact on the front wing, and that helps Yanaudi through, but very smartly gives the place up before incurring any chance of the steward's wrath. Alea sneaks by as well, and Alea then only loses one position from all of that and goes back to P5. Schulk then has the two Haas cars for close company as Cam Mackenzie's picked off Hasbraz. Yanaudi's got in front of Alea down toward turn 9. Schulk leading the two Haas cars and NMX James. Cam Mackenzie trying to line up a move here going up toward turn 1, showing the nose of the Haas, scaring the Mercedes a little bit potentially, but Schulk going through turn 1 very cleanly indeed. Yanaudi's just got in front of Adams up the hill at turn 3, but now Adams has the DRS back on Yanaudi, and now it's his turn to try and have a go at the inside at turn 4, but no, he thinks better of it. Lit's just 1.8, 1.9 seconds off the train in front, the 3-car train in front, which is only 4 seconds off the back of Formula Smokes. We have a yellow flag for a slow-moving Mercedes. That is QB down at turn 7, but it's got back underway in the Mercedes. Cam Mackenzie's still tucked up behind Schulk for the time being. Adams has just dropped a couple of tenths off the back of Yanaudi, and Alea dropped outside of DRS range. Those medium tyres trying to go to the end as Formula Smokesy leaves the session. Disaster for the Williams. Hopefully the Dutchie, who is in the lobby, can as a spectator, can get Formula Smokesy back in reasonably quickly before Smokesy loses too much time, as here will come now Yanaudi and Adams in the very near future. As Hasbraz, another 3-second time penalty, could knock him down the way somewhat. As Cam Mackenzie up the inside there, well, around the outside I should say, of Schulk at turn 3, better on the traction, round the outside, Cam Mackenzie up to P8. Hasbraz just still in front of NMX James as Schulk tries to bite back, and Cam Mackenzie up the inside at turn 4, a little bit of wheel banging maybe, and Schulk on the inside gets the power down slightly easier than the Haas car behind, and holds on to that P8 spot for the time being, but I get the sense this battle could go on for a while. Litz has now caught up to the back of Alea in P6. Expect that battle to go get extremely tasty extremely quickly, as here comes Yanaudi and Adams as Cam Mackenzie and Schulk going battle wheel to wheel through turn 9. Cam Mackenzie was staking his front wing up the inside, backed out of it as Yanaudi has got past Formula Smokesy, and now too has Adams as well, and here comes Cam Mackenzie on the way up the hill toward turn 1. In fact, Hasbraz goes up the inside as well at turn 1, and there's contact as both run wide, and that allows NMX James to go through quickly and cleanly. And NMX James, keeping his nose clean there, hanging back a little bit, has gained 2 spots up to P9. Hasbraz then has to stay P10 and is 2 seconds off NMX James and his teammate. Litz has got in front of Alea, all of who have got in front of Smokesy. He's now down to P7. James, with the help of DRS, has now got past Cam Mackenzie, so he's up 3 spots so far this lap. He's up now to P8 in the McLaren. Cam Mackenzie, though, very much sticking with him. Adams still sticking with Yanaudi, and Let's sticking with Adams in the battle for P3. Edveer's got in front of Tasmanager. That's for P14. In fact, there is the end of that move. Edveer up the inside at turn 3. Schulk still sticking with Hasbraz after the incident. A lap ago. Yellow flag, sector 1. Who's that for? It's another slow moving Mercedes. I think it's for QB again. Having a wobble and has got back up to speed. Meanwhile, Cam Mackenzie versus NMX James on the hill up toward turn 3. Cam looking to the outside, baiting NMX James to go a little bit deep. Cam Mackenzie carrying so much more apex speed through at turn 3 as Schulk has got past Hasbraz, but Hasbraz around the outside, better on the traction. Schulk maybe dropping the Mercedes a little bit, has to stay in P11. Damir sitting just behind, licking his chops, waiting for a chance of a move to come his way. Adams, Yanaudi and Let's still as they were, P3, 4, 5. Schulk now just dropping a little bit off the back of Hasbraz. Alele into the box off the set of the medium tyres that he put on. Another set of medium tyres to see him to the end, I reckon, will be the call for the Aston Martin team. Indeed it is. Where will this put him? This will put him out behind Damir, his teammate, in P12. So work to do then for Ale as Adams has got past Yanaudi on the way up the hill toward turn 3. Oh, in the background there, Cam Mackenzie, NMX James getting very racy with each other on the way up toward turn 3. Cam Mackenzie this time on the inside, not giving NMX James a sniff of it, but NMX James, beautiful up and under, and with the DRS out of turn 3, gets and holds onto P8, P7 now it is, for a little while longer yet, as these have both caught up to the ghosting Formula Smokesy. Damis just got in front of Schulk for P10. Alele came out 5.5 seconds behind those in front. James and Cam Mackenzie both past Smokesy now. Smokesy down now to P8. As into the pits goes Iceman with 25 seconds clear behind. It's a free stop onto a set of the medium tyres. Adams then lies P3 with just a hair's breadth back to Yanaudi and Letts. Cam Mackenzie then still just that hair's breadth behind NMX James as Adams has fallen foul to Yanaudi and Litz, both cars making it their way through, and Litz now trying to go for a move on Yanaudi up the hill toward turn 3. Kick Sauber on the inside, Red Bull on the outside. Who's better on the power out of the apex? Yanaudi just about wins on to that one. Smokesy and Schulk into the box, but Litz now with DRS down toward turn 4 gets the move done. He's up now to P3. NMX James still holding off Cam Mackenzie for the time being. How much longer can the stout defence from the McLaren last? As here comes Cam Mackenzie around the outside at turn 4 on the racing line, on the power. It's still wheel to wheel through turn 5 down toward turn 6. Cam's on the inside though, however, in the Haas, and should just be able to walk that car wide, and indeed he does so. And there is P6 finally for Cam Mackenzie. Now can he scamper away from the McLaren driver behind? Smokesy and Schulk came out 3 seconds behind. Beaten Ale is 2.5 off the back of Damir, his teammate. Hasbraz another 3-second time penalty, one that he can ill afford. Yanaudi and Adams trying to line up a move, a retaliatory move on Litz now on the way up toward turn 3 for P3, but nothing going by any of them when they get there. Cam Mackenzie, NMX James this time on the attack with the DRS for the McLaren, looking to the inside but too far back to make a move. Regent and Beaten into the box with QB dropping the Mercedes out of turn 1. And down now toward turn 4. NMX James late on the brakes up the inside. Cam Mackenzie swoops around the outside and looks to hold on to the position. And we've seen this one once before already. NMX James on the outside at turn 6. But this time he keeps his foot in and he's onto the gravel a little bit wide there. NMX James falling foul of Cam Mackenzie's elbows. Cam with some stout defending holds on to P6. Iceman has gone for the undercut onto a set of medium tyres and has gained a couple of seconds on Regent in doing so, but still 8 seconds off the lead of the Grand Prix so far. Adams tucked up behind Yanaudi, who's 2 seconds now off the back of Litz. Litz has put the hammer down somewhat in the Kick-Sauber and broken free of the DRS window. NMX James with his first 3-second time penalty of the day, but is on the attack once more on Cam Mackenzie, but can't find anything on the way up to turn 3. LA being waved by Damir, and Cam Mackenzie's dropped it out of turn 3 and collected NMX James as well. And here comes Hasbraz and LA, and both go through. James will be absolutely furious with Cam Mackenzie, who will be kicking himself with front wing damage. Have those hards gone off? Does he need to come into the box now? 22 seconds the gap behind to Smokesy. He's got a free pit stop to hold on to P10. Shulk makes his way through, in fact, so no, only 15 seconds the gap back to Cam Mackenzie on Formula Smokesy. He'll only lose one position though. I feel like Cam Mackenzie's got to be coming back to the pits, as LA now lining up a move on Hasbraz, who's shaping up a box to the lane himself. So the Haas cars are going to have to double stack here. Yes, indeed it is. Cam Mackenzie diving to pit lane as well. So LA up to P6, Damir P7, NMX James then P8. From Hasbraz and Cam Mackenzie, Shulk should get past them both here. As Hasbraz onto a set of medium tyres, and away he goes. Where is Shulk? Down the front straight away. There is Shulk just over the start finish line now. Hasbraz releases the pit limiter on the run up toward turn 1. They're going to be wheel to wheel out of turn 1, and Shulk there gets in front. Region 105.2, purple lap, building the gap out up in front. Iceman, another 3-second time penalty. Cam Mackenzie back out underway behind Formula Smokesy, but through go Beaton and Taz Manager. That's going to hurt for Cam Mackenzie, as there's the Ferrari of Cinders, who Cam Mackenzie had put a lap on already. So Cam Mackenzie has a lot to do here. 3.5 seconds off the back of Taz Manager and Beaton. Hasbraz tucked up behind Shulk. Battle for P9. That one could still go any which way. James behind Damir as well. Aston Martin versus McLaren. Adams and Yanaudi still doing battle for P4. Yellow flag top of the hill. That's a Red Bull at the top of the hill. That is Edvir who's dropped it at the top of the hill, I believe. As Adams goes around the outside of Yanaudi. That's up for P4. Damir's got in front of NMX James, but NMX James back up the inside at turn 3. On the power they go. Down the hill out of turn 3, and NMX James then up to P7. Cam Mackenzie's got past Taz Manager. He's up now to P13. 3.5 seconds off the back of Beaton. A lot to do still for Cam Mackenzie. Still may be able to pit both Williams in this race. 6 laps to go. Shulk versus Hasbraz. Hasbraz has gone around the outside at turn 4. It's Cam Mackenzie on the team radio saying he was taken out there by NMX James at turn 3. That was what caused that incident. Apparently McLaren coming from a long way back. Well, have to have another look at that one potentially later. Is a big lock up there for Adams. Was there a little bit of contact as Yanaudi was had a double front lock up, and regardless, Adams dropping the car, picks up a 3-second time penalty for track extending and loses a spot as well. So drama here at the Red Bull Ring with not many laps to go. This is everyone's penalty delta so far. Iceman 9, Litz 3, Adams 3, LA 3, NMX James 3, Damir 16, Jabba 12, Shulk 0, Smokesy Beaton 3, Cam Mackenzie 12, Edvir 3, QB 6, Cinders 6. We will remind you of those on probably the last lap when everything does come down to the business. So Yanaudi then up to P4. Damir sticking with NMX James. Hasbro's definitely potentially losing out a penalty there. It's Iceman, another 3-second time penalty. That's 12 seconds he has now. That's a 9-second delta he's going to give up to Litz. Needs to be careful that he doesn't continue to lose too many more at penalty time does Iceman, because otherwise this could come. This may not even be a P2 finish for the Alpine driver. Damir behind NMX James, P7, P8 still as they were. Schalk versus Hasbraz, the gap there as well. Cam McKenzie just sneaking now inside of the 1 second window of Beaton. Still feels like will feel like he has a job to do still. And the double front lock up there. Cam McKenzie with the DRS, not quite able to get alongside or past Beaton at the apex. Cam McKenzie fuming after a perceived slight from NMX James that put him into the barrier a couple of laps ago. Damir holding on to the back of NMX James for P7 provisionally, as Regent has started his 34th out of 36 laps, just 2 to go after this one. Adams dropped outside 1 second window of Yanaudi, yellow flag, sector 3. It's for one of the Haas cars. I don't believe it. It's for Cam McKenzie, who's dropped it at turn 9 and has gone back into the pit lane. This is going to probably be, one would imagine, Cam McKenzie's passing gift from the race. A 3-second time penalty. And there it is, Cam McKenzie retires on lap 34. A very promising race indeed. That has gone down the drain for Cam McKenzie there. Sad to see. It has to be said, just a little bit of contact ending the day. Adams still dropping off the back of Yanaudi. I didn't fully see that, if there was contact a couple of laps ago when Yanaudi made his way past, but regardless, whatever has happened there, Adams has definitely lost a lot of the pace that he was running with a few moments ago. Meanwhile, Regent on to the penultimate lap of the race. Edveer has got in front of Tasmanja, both are a lap down. P13, P14, again what could have been for Edveer. Started P7, started on the full wets however, and never really didn't look very promising since. Cinder's has got past QB, who's dropped it at the top of turn 1 with a puncture. His Regent now around the final couple of corners. He can count them down on his fingers how many corners he has left to go. It's just 10 of them from here. He's on to the final lap of the race through turn 1. We haven't spoken about Regent much. He got clear of Formula Smokesy fairly quickly in the race and hasn't looked back since. Iceman made his way through, but was 13.5 seconds by the time he'd gone from P19 to P2. QB now retires from the session as well. But Regent has been absolutely dominant all through the race. Hasn't, as I say, hasn't had to really look back at all since claiming the lead off Formula Smokesy in P on lap 2. And now with just a couple of corners to go, he hasn't led every lap, but he's been fastest in all of the sessions, and for one more time he will win the Austrian Grand Prix. The Red Bull ring goes scarlet red for Ferrari and scarlet red for Regent, who must be absolutely chuffed with that result. Iceman will come home a very, very valiant P2 after starting from last on the grid. who then, as we wait to see the order in which they all come home, Smokesy leads home beaten for Williams P11, P12. An unfortunate disconnect from Smokesy, potentially robbing him of a podium. Litz then will take P3 for Kick Sauber. In front of Yanaudi for Red Bull, who comes home fourth, exactly where he started. Ale then P5 for Aston Martin. Adams P6 for Alpine. NMX James does come home P7th in front of Hasbras. We'll wait to see the final classifications come through once everyone has crossed the line. As there are the podium celebrations. Regent from Iceman and Litz, the podium. The in-game driver of the day goes to Ale. Race winner and fastest lap go to Regent, who started from P2. Ale with the most overtakes. Schulk got the cleanest driver award according to the game. Schulk, who finished the race in P8 for Mercedes, up from P13. Hasbras then came home P9 for Haas, who will score a couple of points. Damir P10 for Aston Martin. So a double points finish then for Aston. Smokesy and Beaton 11th, 12th. Edveer P13 in the Red Bull. A day of what could have been. Taz Manager P14 in the other Kick Sauber. Cinders 15th for Ferrari. QB, Cam McKenzie, Moomin Rider and Carlos Sainz all did not finish the race. As is customary, I get to award a driver of the day today. A couple of really strong contenders. Schulk P8 to P13 in the Mercedes, kept it clean. Iceman, of course, P19 to P2. What a drive. Regent absolutely dominating racecraft all the way through. Ale P16 to P5, but I think just purely down to the number of positions gained and just how quick he was, considering no lap time was set in qualifying. The Driver of the Day award goes to Iceman. Folks, thank you so much for watching. I've been Sharp. This has been MSC F1's Round 5, Season 7 at Austria, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon for the next race. But for now, good night and goodbye.